Coming up next, Dr. Jackie says that we need to pay attention to our relationships and fix them, right?
We do. Everyone's in the pursuit of happiness, so this segment is going to be just for you. Relationship reality check coming up in the next segment.
We are back. We have all gathered in the family room because we are all in need of what we're about to talk about, I think, sooner or later. Joining us, Dr. Jacqueline Rosario is here, and we are discussing relationship reality checkups, which you referred to. We all need to go in and have some work done, if
We
you will.
do.
First of all, what is a relationship reality checkup?
Well, I think that everybody needs to check up their relationship, kind of like you do your car and you do your annual physical every year. But why do we leave off relationships? They're like at the center of most of our happiness, aren't they?
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that we're assessing them to see if they're still on track, if we need to course correct. And I think sometimes getting professional help, a marriage coach or a counselor to help you iron out the wrinkles is really helpful.
Give us an example of what a relationship reality check actually is.
Well, you know, typically couples have issues that kind of repeat themselves. You know what I mean?
I call it the circle dance.
Yeah, it's the same
circle dance.
It's the same argument, but it sounds a little different because it's different people involved, maybe a different situation, but at the crux of it's the same thing. And so that means that you have met at an impasse. You keep having the same kind of an issue that you've not been able to productively resolve. And so that means that over time, resentment will build up. It will begin to cause harsh feelings, and it can begin to impact your relationship negatively. So I think that sometimes you need a third voice, someone that kind of comes in and helps you to, as I said earlier, iron out the wrinkles and get back on track.
You know, a lot of people think, though, that if they have to bring in a consultant or a marriage counselor, that means that their marriage is failing, that they're in trouble and that they need it to be fixed. And there's, you know, and that's the first step into going this way instead of this way.
But that's the problem. See, people want to go get help when they're on their last toenail. Why wait until everything's falling apart? Maintain your good thing and keep your good thing going great. That's what I always say. So I think that everybody needs to assess, and that sometimes it's not formally, it can be informally. Just making sure, are we still meeting one another's expectations? Are we still having clear and good communication?
But wait, that right there, back on up.
Back it up.
Back that truck up.
Yeah.
So if I have an issue and I'm saying you're not meeting my expectations, sorry, honey, but you're not, and you're like, what?
No, I wouldn't say that, because at least you're telling me that I'm not meeting them. That means that you've clearly expressed what they are.
Communicating more.
Okay, I would have get stopped in the neck.
Yeah,
say that.
So, but if you have an impasse at that, what do you mean I'm not meeting? Every day I blah, 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 and I'm doing this, and I got to do that. What do you do in that scenario?
Listen.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What is,
See?
in a situation like that, if I go to my partner and I say, you know, I don't feel like this is being met, my needs are, and it's not getting through.
Okay, well, the first thing I would want to do is make sure that she knew what those needs were, those expectations were beforehand.
Right.
Because what I sense all the time is happening with most of the couples that I counsel is that they're upset about something that they've not clearly made a known expectation. And so those are things that we should be talking about at the beginning of the relationship. It should be clear that this is a pet peeve for me, that I really need this, or that I don't want that. And so, first of all, making sure that they've been clearly expressed. And then number two, I might not be able to meet your need exactly head on, but where can we meet in the middle?
Right.
Okay, I like this.
So,
All right.
You go right ahead.
Okay.
You go right ahead. 'Cause I want your needs to be met.
The importance of judgment-free communication. Why am I looking at you?
me.
I'm sorry, doctor.
She's the expert.
Judgment-free, because a lot of times you get into a conversation or a disagreement, and then the person, well, you're judging me. You're judging me. I said, I'm not judging you. I'm telling you how I feel. Why is this you turning it around? And it's about you. I'm telling you what I'm feeling. I don't want you to fix it. I want you to validate my feelings. Don't fix it.
Okay, well, you're talking about two things, though. You're talking about validation.
I want to be validated. Is that wrong?
Well, I find that the fact that most people are not validated in an argument really is what causes it to escalate and remain unresolved. So validation is where you express to someone, it's not about facts. So hear me now. Validation has nothing to do with facts. I don't agree with that. That's wrong. It didn't happen like that. Validation is, I hear what you're saying and I understand how you feel. I can see how that can be hurtful to you.
Thank you.
Right.
That's all I needed.
That made you feel better already.
So, no,
We're ready to move
seriously,
on.
I don't mean, you know, it's fun, but thank you. I just need to, okay, I like that.
So
Made
sometimes
me feel better.
judgments sound like
Yeah.
this. Well, I don't understand what the big deal is.
Yes.
Or why do you feel like that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, just in the break, you said to me, because I hadn't seen her. Usually, we spend lunch together, do something, and she goes, something you said?
I said, did you miss me? Because I was gone. We're not usually separated that long during the.
And she said, I went for a walk. Are you proud of me?
Yeah.
And so she said that, and what I heard was, and I said back to you, I said, well, it sounds like you're very proud of yourself.
But I
That's
wanted
what I
you to
heard.
tell me, because you make such a big deal out of, you know, making that big walk, and I wanted him to say, good for you, Christina, you did the walk. That's all I wanted. Instead, he turned it around and said, aren't you proud of yourself? But I wanted to hear it from him.
Yep.
Is that wrong?
But
Is that wrong?
you
I
expressed
don't know.
what you
I'm not getting involved in that.
That's very smart.
But I wanted her, I acknowledged, or I wanted her to be very proud of herself. I didn't, for me, when I heard it, I said, well, good, I'm proud of you, but I said, I love how that wears on you. Like, she felt a sense of accomplishment, and I didn't want it to be dependent on me to validate that. I wanted her to feel that
interesting how men
validation
think.
within herself.
But I want you to hear what's happened, though.
Okay.
So he's answering her, he's responding to her in the way that he thinks she would want, versus knowing what she would want and giving her that.
Yep.
Listen, if I like chocolate,
Good point.
Yeah.
and I want ice cream, and you know I love chocolate, but you just say, you know, I'm going to bring you vanilla because I love vanilla, and I think vanilla would be great for you. I'm going to like having some ice cream, but I sure be a lot happier if it were chocolate.
But if it were fat-free vanilla, it'd be even better for you. That would really having the... Well, I'm just saying.
Get any kind of ice cream she wants.
Mark, I was about to say something to defend your position.
Yeah, but
no.
That's all in.
You're on your own, Mark. Cutting the cord.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm going to distance myself.
What I was saying in defense of Mark is that sometimes men don't mean the outcome that at least 75% of the time the person I'm with understand. I mean it in a very genuine way, like, aren't you proud of yourself? Meaning, good for you, like, I love it.
Yeah.
And you take it, if there is two options, you take the option
That's
that
not what
probably
I
put
asked,
me
though.
on
It's
top.
an issue of speaking female.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to learn how to speak male, and you have to learn how to speak
That's
female.
right.
Wow.
Now,
Oh,
female would understand that that
Okay.
wasn't a good
Okay, when we come back, we're going to speak one language correctly and one language incorrectly. Which is it, male or female? We're going to find out. Don't go away. We're back with Dr. Jackie. I would try to do that in the female version of interpretation, but I only know the male version of that, so I'll have to be settled with that. I think a sense of humor goes a long way sometimes in trying to fix broken, I don't know, hearts.
Relationships.
Should I stop? Should I stop? Okay, then you talk, okay? You're up. You ask
I do have a
questions.
question for you, Dr. Jackie. So we've been married 5 years, 6 years, but we now have 3 kids under 3. So I think our relationship and our family is stronger than ever. The marriage is very strong. The kids have done that, but we don't spend any time together. All the time we have together is with the kids, which is all wonderful, but I feel like there's something missing, that one-on-one, which I know is trite to say. So I guess my question is that just part of the normal arc of relationships when you have kids, and the next 18 years is going to be very different than the last 5, and then that's going to correct itself? Or do I need to make strides to correct that now? Or is that just normal? I don't need to worry about it?
No, I think you're right. You have to take steps to course correct, because the natural tendency is that the kids need a lot, so they're going to take every bit of your time that you allow. So you have to now come back into the relationship to try to grab that time and set it aside for you and your mate, because if not, it will be consumed with just the family unit, the children, you and the children and the mate.
But you feel
Versus
guilty about
the
that
couple.
because you're
You
taking
can't.
time away from the
That's
kids.
parenting. Wow, guilt
guess
all
what?
the time.
When they get into their teen
Really?
years, they're not going to need you. And so then you've built your whole life around these kids. Then empty nest comes. That's why a lot of people divorce.
But a lot of
What do you
people-
do then?
Interesting.
You've lost touch with one another as a passionate, intimate couple.
But a lot of people during that time, too, they go in different directions to find it elsewhere.
They do.
And that's dangerous, you know, so it's always important, you're right, to course correct and make that time for your spouse or significant other, even if it's like getting away for one day or a weekend or something, once a month.
Without
once every
the
6 weeks,
kids.
without the children. because, you know, other people, other factors come into it, and then, you know, you need to be careful. That's just my...
No, you start to forget what it's like to be together and to be just going with the flow. Everything has to be so organized now with kids. And what happens, they suck out the passion from the relationship. Intimacy goes out of the window because intimacy now is us all together with the kids.
Right.
Yeah.
Saturday mornings, everyone in the bed together. It's like, that's not sexy, but it's like, it's lovely.
It's delicious, though.
Did you have the lock on the door? Can you lock the door and keep...
No, when the kids,
It won't work like that? Because they bang at the door, they go like...
Well, there's something that pushes your heartstrings, and you just can't do that.
We're checking in then like every, like, you know, several times a night.
No, you
still
need...
breathing?
Yeah, you need to get away.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Dr. Jackie.
How much is cleaning up your own, you know, your own laundry a big part of it, like cleaning up like what you're going through personally, to be able to relate to your mate?
Well, I think it's a prerequisite. Hopefully people are fit for marriage. I think a lot of people want to get married, but they're not in marriage shape. So
What does
we need
that
to deal.
mean?
Well, they're not fit. They have a lot of baggage, is what you're alluding to.
Yes, baggage.
And so baggage deals with triggers and things that relate back to traumatic events in our life, and they affect directly the way we perceive common day problems and the way we respond to them. You ever talk to somebody and said something to them, and all of a sudden they blow up, and you're wondering like, wow, what an exaggerated response, a trigger.
Yeah.
So we need to find out what is behind that trigger so that we can better address our mates in the proper way. But more than that, you as the person need to know what your triggers are, what those traumatic events are. You need to heal them so that you can kind of come into the relationship neat, no baggage, you know, as I say, out of the box, batteries included, no assembly required.
Everybody.
Ready to go.
Everybody has baggage, though. Everybody.
Of course you do, but don't you think we need to take care of it? That's one thing that we don't do in our society is really, we don't take enough time to reflect. Introspection is really key to knowing who you are and where you are. Most people that you ask, they don't think they have any baggage, but you ask the people around them and they'll tell them to the contrary. Yeah, you got a couple of issues in your tissues.
So do we seek counseling?
I thought you liked that.
Do we seek counseling for that? Or
Well, you do, but I think it can start. I think that if you're a very mature person, it can start informally. Just you beginning to just give yourself the litmus test. Am I having repeated incidents with people in relationships? Is the same type of a problem coming up? Sometimes it's you.
Yeah.
She looked at you when
no,
she said
I know, and she's correct.
Doctor, I have a question. I think one of the biggest challenges for single people especially is when you're not living with someone, technology. Nowadays, you've got Facebook, you've got text messaging, and when you talk about the challenges that people face with communication, I think a lot of times people aren't talking face to face anymore. It's like you're getting these like long, novel text message fights. How and when do you lay some ground rules, I think, in your relationship so that you don't resort to using technology to communicate? Because that's a huge problem.
Are we using it to communicate or to communicate and to fight?
To fight.
Oh my God, that's a no-no.
It's a huge thing that I see, like, with my generation, my friends are like, oh, we got into this horrible fight and we went to bed mad and he wouldn't talk to me, he's sending me this text message. And so I think, you know, when...
But that's a way of not being like, hey, you're not upfront. It's easier to send a nasty text message than go to somebody's house, knock at the door and say, get out of the house, we need to talk.
But it's also something that's typical of their generation. You're talking about Generation Y, millennials. They're very technology driven. They do a lot of communication via text, even finding their love mates, you know, using technology. So I think you have to have some ground rules and you have to talk about things that are just inadmissible. And so what you do is you respond and you say, you know, hey, this is really important and I think we really need to talk about it face to face. Let's talk.
What do you say, what's the most important advice or insight you have for someone, you know, Fabio's going into a marriage. He's, you know, even though he doesn't admit it's around the corner, it'll be here before you know it.
Soon enough.
Should they seek sort of premarital counseling? Do they, if they're in love, does love conquer all?
Yeah, I wish it did.
Crazy.
Because if it did, we wouldn't have wars, we wouldn't have divorces, that's for sure. Because most people really are genuinely in love when they marry.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, you can fall in love with the wrong person. So for me, I think that some premarital...
What? Don't say that.
Happen.
Oh, it did happen.
No, wait, see? You're being judgmental now.
Well, no, you raised your hand when you said you could fall in love with
Well, I
one
raised
person.
my hand. I could have, maybe I had to go to the bathroom. I was like that. You didn't know, you assumed.
All right, I'll give you that.
It was
Okay.
my past relationship. I was in love with the wrong person.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you know, one good ground rule is that you cannot tell me that you love over a text message. You're gonna come to me and look at my face and tell me that.
I
That's a
agree.
good ground rule.
My next book is
All the men
Don't
out
Marry a
there.
Knucklehead, and that book is all about marrying the wrong person and your responsibility in that equation. But I think that premarital assistance is very important. I created a tool because what I believe is, listen, everybody's trying to get some other idea for marriage to replace it because they're thinking it's not working. There's nothing wrong with the institution of marriage. We just lack the relational skill sets to negotiate it. And there are formulas. And so what I found is that people are talking, but they're not talking about the right things. There's 7 constructs to a healthy marriage. In other words, 7 pillars that if you build those strong and if you're compatible across those pillars, your marriage has an 80% chance.
Can
of
you give
going.
us real quick what the 7, real quick? No.
We have to go. We have to go.
Oh, will you come back?
We have to.
Maybe-
More on the relationship reality check. You can go to Dr. Del
Maybe she'll give
Rosario's
seven.
Twitter. Yes, and she can share that. I want to get that book.
Yes, for sure.
Marry a Knucklehead, marry a what?
No,
What?
marry the mayor of
Yeah,
Chucklehead City.
Perfect.
Don't
When
marry
we come
them.
back, Gina Torres from Suits is going to sit down and talk with us. Don't go away.